We're live. Live from the Icebox Theater in Montgomeryville, Pennsylvania. It's the Bill and Corey Show.
Hi, I'm Corey.
And I'm Bill. This week we're going to Corey and I are going to review recent Matheson Specialty Gas Equipment tech support questions. Before we start, welcome to our inaugural episode. This is our first episode. It's not our best episode. So the picture quality might have to adjust some things there, and the audio, I'm not sure which mic we're actually using, but we'll see how it goes. And then once we iron out the wrinkles, we hope to turn on the chat function. But here we go. First question is for Corey. Someone wanted to know about the flex hose bend radius and inner core type.
Yes, the flex hose. We sell one type of hose, but there's another type of hose that comes with a mini manifold. And the armored flex hose has a bend radius of 6 inches dynamic and 3 inches static. And the Teflon lined hose has no information on the dynamic, but its static is 1.7 inches. The inner core of the Teflon lined hose is smooth bore, while the armored flex hose is not smooth.
It's convoluted. It's called convoluted stainless steel. So it's got kind of ridges in there.
Yes.
That's how it works. We had a customer ask about the 9300 series regulator, about doing a vacuum purge. Can they purge from the inlet side while pump down to the downstream side? It probably can. The best place to put a vacuum purge is on the downstream. And that's the way the regulator works with the spring. So, So downstream is better, upstream should work. We have a customer looking for a 2 PSI line regulator with a 10 PSI supply pressure. And they also mentioned they have a 20% hydrogen CO2 mix. So
the regulator to use for that one would be our 3700 series low pressure line regulator. And that one will handle the job. It has a 0 to 5 PSIG output is one of the options, and that will work great for this situation.
Yeah, and also looking at this mix, it's hydrogen CO2, and CO2 is really not the purest of gases. So the 3700 series regulator's got,
zinc plated.
It's a neoprene diaphragm or something,
yes.
Rubber diaphragm. If you're looking for a higher purity, the 3494 will work. It won't. 3700 is better. But if purity is an issue, 3494, low pressure regulators will have a larger diaphragm for better pressure control than higher delivery pressure regulators. Okay, now this one's for me. The customer has a old 8DF 5.8 regulator, and they're looking for a replacement. Well, that regulator was discontinued over 20 years ago.
Which means it was a good regulator because it's been working this long.
Yes. The Model 8's been replaced by the Model 81. And the current one would be the 81DF 580. This is a regulator rotometer combo. And we have on our online store, I've got an old regulator page. It's in the help section. And I've got a list of old regulators, and then their best replacement.
I even use that page as myself to help customers out, so it's a really good source.
And I went through and this wasn't in there, so I added it. So that got added to it, and I kind of looked down the list, and we got I think I counted like 160 different regulators on there. So that's a lot. Okay, someone wants us to preset the 3200 series at a fixed delivery pressure. The 200 series is our high flow regulator. It's a single stage regulator. And yes, we can set it at a fixed delivery pressure. The question though is that we can set it at a maximum delivery pressure. So we need to know from the customer if they want it as a max delivery pressure, or do they want to have us lock it at that pressure? The other thing to take into account is when you're setting a single stage regulator, to a certain pressure, you need to know what the conditions are for the inlet pressure, because with the supply pressure effect, as the supply pressure goes down, typically the delivery pressure will go up. So that's important for that. Okay, this one's for Corey. Somebody's looking for a wall mount for the 1250 series regulator.
Yes, the 1250 series regulator does not have a wall mount. It is one of our mid-range regulators. While still a good regulator, it doesn't come with all the bells and whistles that a top-of-the-line regulator would have, such as wall mounting capabilities.
Right. What you can do is use a single station manifold,
Yes.
or you can call it a protocol station, and that you can mount on the wall, put the regulator on that, and then you've got a nice flex hose to hook up to your cylinder. So we do have, for the other regulators, we do have brackets, either rear mounting or front mounting to use if you want to do that. Okay, this is I don't know what to go through this whole question. So somebody's using a cylinder, a P10 with a dual stage regulator, and they're talking about they have a flow rate at 20 to 25 cc's a minute, 1 psi delivery pressure. They're concerned about if there's a leak into the room, and that they would like to know about the regulator being fail close. If there's a failure of the regulator, is it a fail close, fail open? And because they're worried about being asphyxiated. You can put restrictions on the outlet of regulators. We don't typically, if you're concerned, but that won't solve the problem. If regulator doesn't fail there and it fails at a leak point, like a pipe thread connection or even a cylinder connection, that's not gonna help. So if you're really concerned about asphyxiation, you might want to consider getting an oxygen deficiency monitor.
And another thing to possibly do is put it into a cabinet if it's possible and contain it.
Correct. Within a cabinet. Some cylinders you can get with the restricted flow orifices in the cylinder valve, but yeah, most of the gases we deal with don't have that. It's usually the higher end semiconductor grade gases. Okay. Let's see. We have a customer looking for a max flow through a specific rotameter. And even though the rotameter has a scale on there, it says it goes to, let's say, 10 liters a minute, 10 CFM or whatever. You can get more flow through there, and your flow is limited by the valve orifice. And this particular rotameter had a 0.063 orifice. So you can use that and plug it into your failure flow formulas, whatever one you want to use to figure out failure flow through a rotameter. Okay. Let's see. Somebody was looking for a VCR fitting for a 3200 series regulator. This 3200 series is a 1/2 inch pipe thread ported, so it's kind of large. And yes, we can supply a VCR fitting for that. We do have on our online store, we've got a page that has our fittings, and you can sort it between stainless, brass, Monel. And we've got a variety of commonly used and commonly in stock fittings. This one wasn't in that list of fittings, and it might be something we'll add in the future.
And correct me if I'm wrong, though, all the fittings on our online store are 1/4 inch, though, are they not?
That's a good question.
They're
mostly
not.
1/4 inch, because
Okay.
most of the regulators we do are 1/4
Yes,
inch.
yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I
we
just
probably have some pipe thread. We might have some 1/8 inch. I don't know.
went down. I remember I tried to look recently on the online store, and I did not see anything other than 1/4 inch, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah, I don't think we have any 1/2 inch stuff in
No,
there.
definitely no 1/2 inch.
But there's some fitting. We have the fittings on there as kind of a convenience feature. Someone's got their regulator and they want to put a different outlet fitting on it or type something a little bit to it.
But we carry more fittings than what our online store has on.
Yes. Okay, here's one for Corey. Somebody was looking for a 3120 series It's a dual stage regulator with an inlet on the left side.
The dual stage regulator does have 6 ports. Unfortunately, one of the ports is for an interstage pressure relief valve, and that makes it impossible to put on the left side unless you played around with where the gauges would be. The gauges
they'd be upside down.
It'd be an upside down. No, but they do make gauges that have top mount on them, and it'd be very specialized thing.
Well,
but it's
that's
not
good. Yeah, we did have a customer that wanted us to get upside down gauges, and we did get them. That was quite a few years ago. I thought it was kind of neat. But our single stage bar stock regulators, the 3510 series would be, and the 3530, they're 6 ported, so you can easily configure that with a left side inlet and right side outlet.
And if it's important enough, you can then add a line regulator after it to make your own dual stage regulator combo if the dual stage is important.
Yeah. And the line regulators are ported such that you can, it's got 2 inlet, 2 outlets, so you can go left to right, right to left, top to bottom. Okay, and then we've got gauges reading below 0 PSI. You want to give details on that?
Yes. So we had a customer that had the regulator was not hooked up to anything, but the gauges were way below 0. Now sometimes the gauge won't read 0 because it has a plus or minus 3% at that area. So if it's close to 0 but not quite there, it doesn't mean the gauge is broken. But in the case of what this customer showed, they were, if I remember correctly, they were 30-inch to 0 to 200 PSIG gauges, and it was all the way to the bottom of 30 inches of water column. So that one was definitely broken. So just remember that it's not always going to be at 0 because there is a little bit of error for gauges, but in this case it was broken.
Yeah, it's good. And the last one's on our 8058. You had a question on that?
Yeah, so the customer bought our 8058 detector, and you can get these detectors to use for different gases. This one specifically for hydrogen gas, and the person asked if it would interfere with carbon monoxide, methane, benzene, or carbon dioxide if they were happen to be in the same area as this detector. The answer is yes, it can interfere with that. So, however, my thought process is you don't want those other gases there anyways. So,
yeah, that'd be kind of. Hey, you're right. If you got a room full of all that stuff, maybe you should be someone else.
But
I think they're just talking about minor.
I know.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, that's all the questions we have for this week, and this will be posted whenever YouTube decides to post it. I guess it might even be right when we hit the end stream button on our Matheson Specialty Gas Equipment Tech Support YouTube channel. So once again, thanks, and we'll see you again. Bye. 13 minutes. Okay. Yeah.